I'm not posting this on TikTok or on Facebook. I'm only posting this on YouTube because I don't want a lot of people to see it, and I don't have a big following on YouTube. So this is mainly for the people who watch all of my videos. I have one person, I always forget exactly what the name is, but it's Alan Loves Jesus. Thank you for always watching and commenting on the videos that I make. But this video is more like for people like you who watch all of the videos that I make. This video is not for everybody, which is why I'm not sharing it on other platforms. So when I was 14, I started praying to Satan. I believed in God and I believed in Jesus my entire life. From the moment I was born, I always believed in God and I always believed in Jesus because we would go to church every single Sunday. But my entire life of praying, I never felt God with me. I never heard God. And it never felt like he was there when I would pray or when I would talk to him. It felt like he was a million miles away. So when I was 14, I decided, well, I'm not going to pray to God anymore. I want to feel something. So let me try praying to Satan. So when I started praying to Satan, I don't remember what I would say. I only remember that I felt different. I felt, I'm going to use quotation marks, I felt powerful. Now, the reason I felt that is because when I would pray to God, I felt absolutely nothing. But when I started praying to Satan, the reason I say I felt powerful is because I knew that it was not good to do, but I was doing it anyway. So I felt something, at least. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted to feel something. So I don't remember how long I did that for. It wasn't long. Maybe a year, maybe less than a year. I think I was a sophomore in high school when I was doing that. So I was either 14 or 15. But one of the things I prayed to Satan about was I wanted to be an actor. So I asked him, I was like, Satan, you're powerful, make me an actor. And then I think it's when I turned 16 that I got out of that phase. And instead of praying to Satan, I basically stopped. But I do remember I prayed one prayer. I was in the back seat of my parents' car, and I looked out the window and I looked at the sky. And I said inside my head, I said, God, I know you can hear me. Satan, I know you can hear me. I'm going to pray and ask both of you, whichever one of you makes me rich and famous, you will be my God, and I will call you God. So whichever one of you makes me rich and famous, when I'm famous, when I talk to people, when I talk to my fans, and when I say the word God, I will be speaking of you. Other people will think, for example, Satan, if you're the one that makes me famous, I will call you God, but I won't say your name. So when I talk about God, people will think I'm talking about Jesus. But Satan, if you make me famous, I'll be talking about you. And then same thing with God. I said to God, God, if you make me famous, when I talk to people about God, when I say the word God, I'll be talking about you, and they'll know that I'm talking about you. So that's when I was 16, and I didn't pray a lot. It was on and off. When I was 17, I woke up one day, and I had the urge to read the Bible. I wanted to read about Jesus. I wanted to see for myself. I wanted to see the miracles that he performed, like walking on water, changing the water into wine, healing the sick, raising the dead. I wanted to read it for myself instead of just hearing about it. So I asked my mom, I was like, hey, where can I read about Jesus in the Bible? She said, you could read the book of John. So I borrowed her Bible and I read the book of John. It's 21 chapters. And reading those 21 chapters in the book of John, I learned more about God. I learned more about Jesus. I learned more about heaven just reading those 21 chapters than I did my entire life of going to church. Alright, so that's when I was 17. And then I graduated high school in June 2011 when I was 17 years old. So I think it was 2 or 3 months before I graduated high school when I woke up that day, and I just had to, just randomly out of nowhere, woke up. I was like, I want to learn about Jesus. I want to read what he said. It just, out of nowhere, I had that desire. Alright, so 3 months later I graduate high school and I go to California to, I was moving there. I was moving with my grandparents because I was still trying to be an actor. I was still trying to be rich and famous. And I flew down there after my graduation. My mom and my sister also flew down there because before I went to stay with my grandparents, we were all going to go to Los Angeles because my cousin was having her quinceañera. So we went to the quinceañera, and then before my mom and my sister flew back home to Texas, I was asking my mom, hey, can you look online, see if there's any acting studios in the area in California where I'm going to be living. So she found an acting studio like 20 minutes from my grandma's house, and I ended up going there the same week that we flew to California, right after I graduated. And that week, I remember the casting director lady who owned the acting studio, she said, hey, every 3 months we go to LA and we meet with agents, we meet with casting directors. And this weekend is that 3 month. We're going this weekend if you want to go. However, it costed money. I think it was like $1,000 because you had to sign up for the class, you had to sign up for the studio, you had to get your headshots, and all of that was like $1,000. And I didn't have $1,000. And at the same time, because my mom and my sister were still there, we had gone to the church that we used to go to when I was little, and we were seeing my mom's friends at that church, and we would go to their houses within like 2 or 3 days. We went to see like 3 of them, 3 different people we went to see during that week of her friends at the church. And 3 different times they all said to me, hey Ryan, did you hear about the church camp this weekend? And the first time they said that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. No, I didn't hear about that. And then I think the next day we went to see the other friend, and the other friend said the same thing. Hey, did you hear about the church camp this weekend? You should go. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, yeah, maybe. But in reality, I was like, I'm not going to go to a church camp with a bunch of strangers. And then the next day we went to see a different friend. They said the same exact thing. Hey, did you hear about the church camp this weekend? You should go. So finally I decided I would go, and I think it costed just a little bit of money, but my grandma paid for it. So I ended up going to church camp that weekend instead of going to LA, Hollywood, with the acting studio, which is what I wanted to do. I did not want to go to church camp. I wanted to go to Hollywood, meet casting directors. So church camp was 3 days. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was up in the mountains, so we had no phone service. The first night that we got there, I remember we were sitting around the campfire, and the guest speaker that they had for that weekend, one of the things he said was, God is going to do something amazing this weekend. And I remember thinking, I bet you he says that all the time. I bet you he says that to everybody. So I didn't believe it. I didn't think anything was going to happen. So that Friday night, we did the worship service, the prayer service, the message. It was good. It was cool. Saturday night was different. Saturday night, when we went into the tent, because there was a big old white tent and we would go inside the tent and that's where they had the church service. When they started playing the worship music, now remember, 3 months before is when I had read the Bible, so I loved God and I loved Jesus. I had no problem going to church camp. I was not praying to Satan anymore. But I didn't want to go to church camp because I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to go to Hollywood. I didn't want to go to church camp with a bunch of strangers. So Saturday night at church camp, this is what it felt like. It felt like time stopped. It felt like God got a razor blade and I looked up at the sky and it felt like God cut open the sky, opened up the heavens, opened up the clouds, opened up the sky, and it felt like everything in heaven, all of his presence, came down. And everybody, they started speaking in tongues, and that was the first time I ever felt God's presence. And I never knew that you could physically feel God's presence. I never knew that. I always thought it was just a belief. I always thought you just believe in God. I never knew you could physically feel him. But it felt like that wasn't supposed to happen. It felt like he stopped time and it felt like he interrupted the church service. It felt like he interrupted that weekend. It felt like that was not supposed to happen. It felt like that was not supposed to be part of my life. It felt like he did that just for me. Everybody there was feeling his presence. I saw all kinds of people crying and worshiping and speaking in tongues. I didn't speak in tongues. I don't want to speak in tongues. That's just a personal thing I've talked to God about. But it felt like he interrupted my life in that moment. Like a good interruption. Like he was introducing himself to me. So that night finishes. The next night was awesome also. But I was completely changed when I left church camp that weekend. Because now I knew, whoa, you can feel God's presence. So, that was in 2011. That was a long time ago. That was 15 years ago. And in the last 15 years, I've learned so much more. And one of the things that God told me a few years ago was, if I had allowed you to live the life that you wanted, you would have ended your life going to hell. But because I put a stop to it, because I changed it, things are different now. If he had allowed me to go to Hollywood that weekend, maybe I would have been famous. I don't know. But I know that he told me, if I had allowed you to live the life that you wanted, you would have ended your life going to hell. The reason he stopped that weekend, the reason he interrupted that weekend, was to save me. I did not choose to follow him. I did not choose to serve him. I wanted acting more than anything. Even though I believed in him, even though I started loving him when I started reading the book of John, I still chose acting over him. If I was given the choice in that moment before that church camp, I would have chosen acting over God. I would have chosen being rich and famous over Jesus. But he interrupted that weekend and introduced himself to me and allowed me to experience that you can actually physically feel him. And so I felt like sharing that earlier today. I felt like he wanted me to share that, to let people know I did not choose him. I did not choose to follow him. I did not choose to serve him. He chose me. Anything that he does in my life, anything that he does through me, none of it's because of me. Because I never would have chosen it. I chose myself. I chose the pleasures of the world over him. I chose the world over him, but he saved me. Just like Jesus said, if a shepherd loses a sheep, one sheep, he will leave the 99 to go rescue that one sheep. It felt like he stopped the world that weekend to come introduce himself to me, to come save me. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to share. Thank you for watching.